Sadarshi Kusumavarsha Karasinghe. Your topic is application of communicative language teachings and interactive approaches to enhance communicative competence in ESL learners. So you are also given 10 minutes. Please wind up your presentation within your time.
Venerable Mahasangha, including Chair, Co-Chair and distinguished scholars of the gathering, are Maran S.K. Ranasinghe, presenting on the topic Application of Communicative Language Teaching and Interactive Approaches to Enhance Communicative Competence in Learners who Study English as their second language. I'm sorry, the topic is not visible. And this is the overview of my presentation. And to provide a brief introduction, this research attempts to explore the application of communicative language teaching, which is also known as CLT, an interactive approach in teaching English as a second language to students who represent B1 level of Common European Framework for languages. So here you can see a cross-section of this framework, and here I will be focusing on level B, independent speaker and specifically B1 intermediate level. So these are the two theories which were experimented in this research. First one, communicative language teaching, which was initiated in 1980s. So the philosophy behind this theory is that in order to learn a language, a learner has to practice using that language to communicate meaning with each other. And then there's interactive approach, which allows the students to actively involve in the learning process to absorb the information and knowledge from their teachers as well as co-learners. Then moving on to the objective, this research aims to explore ways and methods in which the communicative competence of learners could be enhanced via interactive and learner-centered approaches, specifically to enrich vocabulary and also the ability of comprehension of the learners. Then this is my research problem. Can CLT and interactive approaches effectively enhance reading comprehension and vocabulary acquisition in learners who learn English as their second language? Then a literature review was conducted based on these two approaches, and the first research refers to Savignan. So this refers to CLT approach and how students who were exposed to CLT based syllabuses displayed higher fluency, and also how they were able to negotiate meaning than the others, the rest who were taught using traditional methods including grammar translation method and audiolingual method. Due to time constraints, I have only mentioned two prior studies, and via this literature review, it was identified that there's a research gap. There's this lack of research on CLT and interactive approaches within this specific context of Sri Lankan English language teaching, and specifically with reference to the selected texts which were taken from the storybook Matilda by Roald Dahl. So moving on to my theoretical framework, this research is based on the socio-cultural theory of language development, and it focuses on the importance of social interaction in language learning. So here it is assumed that language acquisition is not an isolated process but a social process. And also, according to this theory, learners develop linguistic skills through shared experiences as well as interaction. And the teacher acts as a facilitator rather than sole transmitter or the only transmitter of knowledge or language. And also it is assumed that learners co-construct knowledge through interaction with more knowledgeable others. And here more knowledgeable others can be teachers, mentors, or even peers who are more competent than the target group. So moving on to the methodology, this was conducted as an action research, and activities were designed around a passage from Matilda, which was written by Roald Dahl. So the lesson initiated with an icebreaker activity, and the teaching process were divided into 3 main stages, namely pre-reading, while reading and post-reading stages. And pair work and group work were utilized, and also the lesson was designed to be learner-centered, accommodating a B1 level class of 20 students. And data was collected by observation, student feedback, and also pre- and post-assessments. Moving on, this was the first activity given in the prior reading stage. So the students were asked to come up with the meanings of these words, and first this was given as an individual activity, and later the responses were recorded, and then it was given as a pair work, the same activity. Then in the during reading stage, these reading passages were provided, and the students were asked to infer the meanings of these words by referring to these passages. So they were basically asked to infer the meanings by referring to the overall meaning of these passages, and that was done as a group work. After that, moving to the post-reading stage, these comprehension questions were given, and they were given as a pair work. So data was collected by observation of participation levels and interaction with the lesson as well as interaction with each other. And then student feedback was collected at the end of the lesson. And pre- and post-assessment of reading comprehension and vocabulary acquisition were conducted to gauge improvement of the learners. Then moving to the findings, via observation of participation levels and interaction, it was observed that there's a development and improvement of reading comprehension ability, and also higher confidence levels were observed, and also relaxed reactions were observed when they were involved in this pair work and group work. And with reference to pre- and post-lesson assessments, when the same vocabulary activity was given as an individual work, and pair work, the latter, which means pair work, showed better results than the former, which means the individual work. And also student feedback catered to 3 different levels: positive, negative, and neutral. So here I have one positive feedback, and then according to this graph chart, you can see how positive feedback is comparatively higher than negative and neutral feedback. Then moving to the results, so it is evident that CLT, which means communicative language teaching method, and interactive method do promote higher levels of student participation as well as engagement, and also how interactive approach can assist in increasing ability to comprehend main ideas, key ideas, even when there's unfamiliar vocabulary, and also how this can be assisted in vocabulary enrichment at large. So these are the recommendations of my research to continue using CLT approach in similar contexts, as it is immensely effective in increasing student participation. And also another recommendation would be to focus on interactive contextualized vocabulary at large. So with that, we come to the conclusion. So the presentation can be concluded with this remark that both communicative and interactive methods do provide an effective framework for ESL students, specifically with reference to enhancing their vocabulary as well as their ability of reading comprehension. So that would be the end of my presentation. These are my references. Thank you immensely for your time and attention.
Thank you very much, Kusumvarsha Alsingha, for wonderful presentation on your time. Now we come to our question and answer session. We already left 50 minutes of this session. Therefore, we have to finish this presentation.